Rookie Hunter is proudly brought to you by the Wild Sheep Foundation. If you'd like to join their mission to put and keep wild sheep on the mountain, you can go to wildsheepfoundation.org, become a member, renew your membership, or become a lifetime member. You can even get yourself some badass WSF merch. All of that can be found at wildsheepfoundation.org. And while you're there, check out Sheep Fever, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Foundation. Rookie Hunter stayed connected all season long with Zoleo. If you're in the market for a new satellite communicator, go to Zoleo.com. That's Zoleo.com and get yourself a satellite communicator you can rely on. And of course, we're partnered with our friends at North Arm Knives. The spring season will be here before you know it, so head over to northarmknives.com and get yourself a blade. Hey guys, it's been a while. This is episode 173. Kind of excited about the next few episodes we have for you. We have a few in the bank, and that means we're going to be a little bit more consistent here in the weeks to come. We decided to tackle a topic for each of these episodes, so one singular topic. And we actually used ChatGPT for some suggestions, and we grabbed a few that we like. This first one is gear regret. So anything we regret buying or didn't do enough research on, impulse buys, that kind of thing. And we hope that this helps you make better decisions when you're purchasing gear. And as we move forward, I think we're going to stick with this format for a while at least. And I want to go back to our core of what this show is. It's always been intended to be a place where new hunters or inexperienced hunters can come and get into the sport in a way that isn't intimidating, because it certainly can be if you're on the blogs and if you're watching videos and all that kind of stuff. It can be overwhelming, and we want to keep it simple and share our decade of experience now, and make this something that anybody can do, because you certainly can. You don't have to have the best of the best. You don't have to spend a fortune to get out there and have fun. So that's the theme behind these ones. I'm going to play a hunting story for you guys at the end, so hang out for that too. There's a few left in the archives, so if you sent one in, we got to announce a winner soon. North Arm Knives moved their shop to the island, so I wanted to give them some time to get settled there before we hassled them for another blade for you guys. But stay tuned for a winner. We'll be announcing that in the next week or so. But thank you to everybody who's submitted a story. We've had a lot of fun with this, and hope you guys have enjoyed listening to them. Let's get into the episode. Sit back, relax, crack an ice cold beer, and enjoy episode 173. Happy birthday, buddy.
Hey, thanks, you too.
40.
Yeah.
How did that happen, man?
I don't know where the last 10 years went. I guess we were hunting quite a bit.
We were.
And then, some other life changes along the way, but it just flew by.
Yeah, that's funny you bring up hunting, because I think we started hunting 10 years ago. Was it 2015?
Yeah, it was about that time for sure. It might have been even a little bit earlier than that, like a year or two, because I remember buying a bunch of gear early on, and how the dollar was good and prices weren't bad. And then like 2 or 3 years after that, it kind of went the other way, and we all know what it's been like since.
Yeah.
Everything's expensive, right?
Because I know our first sort of trial run at a backpack hunt was in 2015. You know the one I'm talking about. Kev was there.
Yeah.
We won't name the spot, but that was 2015. So that was, maybe we started in 2014. We kind of got out there and got our feet wet a little bit. And then 2015, we got a little more serious. And remember, I had that big shitty backpack. And
yeah, it's been fun, but yeah, time flies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel any different. I mean, obviously, we go on hunts now, and it need to stretch and stuff. I don't even remember stretching for anything back in the
No,
day,
no.
but
That's
now I
funny
think it's a
because
good idea.
I was out running today, and I was thinking about that too. I'm like, we're still capable of doing all the things that we did when we were in our early 20s, but it just requires more maintenance, and stretching is a huge part of that. But we won't go down that rabbit hole. But that's something I've been thinking about lately because I've been doing a lot more stretching, and seems to be working for me after all the injuries and stuff. But just
Yeah.
to give everybody a heads up, we're trying something different here. So we're gonna sort of pick some of our favorite topics and things that we think are going to be useful to new hunters, and do a bit of a deep dive into some of this stuff. So this topic, we we actually use Chat GPT to give us some ideas, which is it's kind of a fun experiment just to see what it comes up with. And one of the suggestions it gave was gear regrets. And we thought maybe this would be kind of a fun one, even though I think we're all three of us are very calculated as far as gear goes. But there's definitely times when you feel like you need something, or you buy something last minute and you're like, why the hell did I buy this? Or you get something and you think it's going to be great and you take it out in the field and it's a bit of a disaster. So that's what we're going to cover today. And wish us luck. We'll see how this goes. And now that we have a decade of experience, Kelly, I feel like we can offer something here. But yeah, key thing, use what you have if you're just getting started. Because I think I think if guys are listening to hunting podcasts and watching YouTube videos, I think there's a bit of a misleading thought that you have to have all the best of the best to get out there. And I've heard a lot of guys say that, like, I got intimidated by the gear aspect of it because I felt like I had to spend thousands of dollars before I could get out there. But if you go back to our first hunt, we've mentioned this many times, we were wearing blue jeans and and whatever we had, just like a day pack and nothing. I think I had a Carhartt jacket on or something. And
Yeah. I've got photos of that trip.
Yeah. Going through
When the mist rolled in there on top of the mountain. But yeah, I mean, especially for day hunts, you can really get out there with pretty much anything, running shoes and shorts for early season.
Yeah.
Just like you say, matter of getting out there. You don't have to go crazy. And, it's actually better not to spend a bunch of money early and kind of use what you have, because then you know what you like, and then you can invest in some stuff once you figure it out.
You'll quickly find out what you don't have and what's going to make things a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
So Kelly, have you ever like impulse bought something?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, for folks that have listened to the podcast, I mean, I'm a kind of a gear junkie. So, Garrett's probably the same. And, we like to shop, although like I do like to put a lot of research into stuff and kind of invest in the heavy hitters, like the things that are going to make a difference. Like you say, your optics, your boots, your rifle, like all that kind of stuff. Like one of the things that I was thinking about before, like just gear wise, and something that I don't use a lot, and not say it's not useful depending on the situation or the person, but like a GPS, these guys.
Right.
Now I have this, and I think it's worth, at the time at least, it was like $400 or $500, but I probably only used it like 2 or 3 times. And part of that is because our iPhones do a great job from a GPS perspective, and we also have other things like our Zolios, and you're sending contacts to people and all those type of things. So maybe this is one that it's a bit of a hindsight one, but it kind of turned into a redundancy.
Right. I mean, when you got that, I think maybe it made more sense at that time, but now it doesn't really make sense at all. Yeah. Because we can keep all of our offline maps and all that stuff, right? So
yeah, this is one where, because I have it, I kind of toss it in the ATV, or I'll toss it in the truck, and I'll flip it on. But it's almost like if plan A fails and the phone fails and the battery dies, then I have something else in the background.
Right.
But this is the one that, just given what it's worth back in the day and how much I use it.
Would you call that one an impulse buy, or did you actually put quite a bit of thought into it?
No, I think it was more of an impulse buy. It was kind of like, oh no, GPS, like this is needed. And, invest money in it, right?
Yeah.
But it's a
Yeah.
big chunk, especially, if we're talking 5, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
$500.
Yeah, man,
And,
definitely.
you could put $500 towards a lot of things, but you're thinking about safety and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I'm trying to think about anything else. What about you? Any impulse buys?
I couldn't really think of any impulse buys because I think we're all pretty calculated as far as,
Yeah, I
and
don't see you as an impulse.
no,
You're out of all of us, you're probably the most calculated, I would say.
I don't like to buy something until I feel like I really need it, or I see something that you guys have and like, damn, that makes
Yeah,
sense. You know what I mean?
which is good. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
feel like
nice
you
to
guys
try
spend the
stuff
money
out
being
too.
yeah. Kelly, like I kind of touched on this in the intro here too, but like overpriced and overhyped gear. And
Yeah,
again, I think it's kind of in everybody's face with, ads and all that kind of stuff. You really feel like you need to spend a ton of money on stuff. But again, like any backpack is going to work.
yeah,
Your clothing doesn't need to be camo. Slowly, you like just use what you have and get out there.
yeah.
But yeah, any thoughts on like overpriced and overhyped stuff that you think that people might really feel obligated to buy but probably don't need?
Yeah, I mean, to get started, I don't think you have to drop, one, two, three, $4,000 on a pair of binos
Yeah.
or anything like that. I mean, there's a lot of nice kind of spotting scopes that are small and compact, and there's a lot of benefits to those.
Hmm.
Um, Binos, like we started with Vortex Diamondbacks, I think,
I
which,
still have
you
them.
know,
They're great. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out here where, companies are doing a good job making a good quality product that's super good value. Do you notice when you bump yourself up to a $1, $2,000, $3,000 set of glass? Like, yeah, but it's kind of like cameras, like the amount of benefit you get for the money at a certain point in the scale becomes like very small benefits for large sums of money.
Right.
And like where you like with optics, for example, like where you're going to see the benefit is when you get into low light and when you're looking into like the shadows and the bushes and things like that. Is it going to make or break your hunt? I mean, I guess some people could say yes in like very, I guess, certain situations, but like maybe it just means that you got to put a little more time in or be a little more careful or like get a little bit closer or
Yeah.
do whatever. But like, you can do all this stuff. Like, look at our grandparents and stuff, man. Like,
Yeah.
they weren't hunting with, look at the binos they were using.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of this stuff is a qualifier to get out there. You just got to, work with what you have. And there's a lot of low price, kind of high value gear out there.
Totally. Big time.
Yeah.
What do you think actually makes gear worth? Like what value in gear like would you actually pay more for?
Staying on optics, that was one thing that I stepped up. So like I said, I did start with the Diamondbacks. And then once you kind of get your hunting gear together and you've kind of got a pool, you start going, yeah, okay, like I've got everything I need to go out there, but like what could I upgrade?
Right.
And, binos was one of those things for me. At the time I bought a set of Mavens, and they're like the 9x48s or the 9x45s or something. They're like a little bit bigger than your standard set of like, 8s or 10s, right? I think 8x42 is kind of your typical. To be honest on that one, those ones have like a different prism. They're supposed to be super good in low light. They're kind of a good mix of magnification and, how much light they let in. But sometimes when I'm packing those things around, I wish I had just a light, small set of binos, because it's tough having a big set of binos on your chest. It does add weight. And, that's just a side note in terms of binos. But that's one thing that I would upgrade once you kind of get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking like anything that is going to give you longevity, stuff that's going to last.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to replace it. And once you start doing more backcountry type stuff, anything that's going to shave weight too, you start getting into lightweight gear.
Exactly.
So,
And, and shaving weight so that you can because some of this stuff is going to weigh, like you're going to have your spotter and some of this stuff. And
Yeah.
that's kind of, you could talk about in your hunting party who's going to bring one and who isn't to try to save weight on the group. But like at the end of the
But
day,
everybody
somebody's
wants
going
to
to have to
bring
bring one.
it.
And the good ones weigh
Yeah.
something, So
Yeah.
I find it's about cutting weight in the things that you can so that you can handle the weight and the things that mean that it's quality.
Yeah.
So if you can kind of balance that out, it's good for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you can get really nice tripods, and you can get very heavy tripods. I've got an old shitty one. I got it when I graduated from high school. You know the one that I've got.
Mm-hmm.
It's super lightweight. It's small. It's not like super rigid and like easy to adjust or anything like that. But once you got it set up, it's fine, and it weighs nothing. You know what I mean? So
totally.
it's
Yeah,
that's one of those things that's cheaper, but it works. It's a tripod, and yeah, I like that thing, man.
Yeah, it's
But
nice.
Sometimes
and
I'm
compact,
like, oh, I
like
wish
you
I
say.
had a cooler tripod. Just like it's the adjustment settings. Sometimes like with a nicer tripod, it's easier to like tweak it and get it perfect. Where mine, I kind of got to fuck around with it a little bit more. But that the thing is meant for backpacking, but it's what 30 years old now, or no 20 years old now. Yeah,
totally.
Not that
like
old.
if you and then like if you had like big spotting scope on it or something, it might start testing the limits.
Yeah, if you're out in the wind and stuff, it's not going to be great. But for putting the binos on, it's perfect.
But yeah, you can. That's the thing, is you can pretty much make anything work. So it kind of depends on like, do you want to add a little bit to your margins to, it may make your hunt that much more successful, right? But
yeah,
it's pretty slim pickings with a lot of this stuff. And like the only reason I updated my optics, now that I think about it, was mine were stolen out of my truck. So
right,
I kind of thought, it seems like a good time to maybe shop a little bit. And we were at Wild Sheep Foundation, at Sheep Show, and we were trying them out there. So that's kind of what happened there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't like necessarily running out to be like, I need a new pair of binos because these Diamondbacks aren't great. And like, I would probably still have them today.
Yeah, probably.
I wish I knew where they were.
Yeah, hopefully somebody's using them.
And
ended up at a pawn shop somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And now James has a set,
Yeah.
Thanks to Uncle Mike.
Yeah. Got him the juniors.
Yeah, those are awesome too, by the way. Like, I've been using them out in the backyard, and I'm like, yeah.
And next hunt, we're going to go out and you're going to be swapping out
your binos for his. Well, yeah, because they shave like a pound off my binos by using those.
Yeah. Kelly, have you had anything that's like failed, completely shit the bed on you? First thing that came to mind, I mean, we all have good boots and stuff now, but was in those early days, you have your average hiking boot that's like, waterproof. It's got Gore-Tex, but it's not technically like waterproof and more water resistant. And you go out there and you get caught in a downpour and your feet are just soaked all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I started hunting with my steel toe work boots.
Right.
I mean, they weren't like super heavy. I mean, steel toes aren't the lightest, but they were just kind of like lightweight steel toe kind of hiking boot kind of things. But yeah, that's what I had. And you're right. I mean, it all seems fine. You're not doing anything crazy. And then it rains and your feet are just sponges, right? Like it just, you're soaked. And it's like, one thing that's tough to get by without is good boots.
We'll do a full episode on this too, but
yeah. And, again, you don't have to go out there and spend, $400 or $500 on boots. I know there's a lot of those out there. I actually bought, I know we'll do a boot episode, but these Mindles that I bought out in Vernon, shout out to Fisher's Home Hardware. There's a guy there that they order them in straight from Germany. They sell them at a pretty decent cost, around $300, and they're like my favorite boot. They actually resolved a number of like foot issues I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And we'll save that for another episode. But super high quality boot that I would take sheep hunting, and it was like $300 a few years ago.
Yeah.
And you could probably even go down from there a little bit, right? I don't know if I'd go like, you kind of want to get something of quality, and that seems to be probably going to spend a couple $100. But
yeah, I think you should definitely spend like $300 at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll we'll definitely do a deep dive on that one. The other thing I thought of was like cheaper headlamps. I didn't have any like fail on me, but
Yeah.
you go out there and you're like, oh, whatever, this like, you know, $20 one from Mech is going to be fine. And then it's dark and it's fine. Like it does what it needs to do. But then when you see someone that has like a good one, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. And that was me. I don't know if you remember that. Like I've been on a number of hunts with you guys where I'm like headlight envy because all these guys we're going down a hill. It's rocky, you know, I'm rolling my ankles all the way down because my headlamps, either the battery's dying or it's just not bright enough.
Yeah.
And I remember buying like those, is it Peitzel or whatever?
Petzl, or I don't know how you say it.
And, yeah. And not a good one, right? I mean, they're like the cheaper like I guess they're all plastic, but these ones kind of look.
You had the pink
plasticky.
One.
Yeah. I remember, I don't even know how I ended up with that, but Bree had one. I think I lost mine or something. Anyways, I used to walk around with the pink headlamp.
I have a backup with one of that model. I just throw it in my pack. It's just a in case one. Yeah.
And what do you think of that one?
It's fine, but it's a backup. It's not like, I think you have the same one as I do now, don't you?
Yeah, it's a black diamond. Mine's a black diamond with, I don't know. It's much wider.
Yeah. It's I'm pretty sure you have the exact same one as I do.
That one is unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing with headlamps is battery management. I think that was probably my problem a couple times but when those things start going, it turns into a critical piece of gear, especially when you're packing a bear out and it's dark or something or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a good way to end up with a rolled ankle or an injury.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a cut or something if you're in the dark field dressed in something. So I mean, I couldn't think of much of stuff that failed on me, but those things could fail and could get you into trouble. A cheap headlamp is pretty.
We've had water filters fail.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe not fail, but not perform the way that we thought they were going to. Like takes hours to fill a 2-liter jug.
We've shit on that one quite a few times. Garrett's, I can't even remember what brand that MSR. Yeah.
And I know they have a bunch of different kinds and, but this one, not good. And I've actually bought the same one as you, which we've raved about a number of times. The Katadyn, right?
Had that forever. This is the Katadyn Hiker Pro.
Katadyn,
yeah. It's a bigger one, but man, it works. But yeah, because every hunt we've gone on, even when Garrett had the MSR, we've all shared mine on every single hunt. I'm pretty sure. So
we've pushed like 40 liters through that every hunt, probably at least 80 liters.
Yeah.
But at the end of our last hunt, the second we got back into cell phone service, I went on Valhalla or whatever the store was and bought one before I even got in the truck.
Yeah.
I was like, this has to happen. We can't be relying on one of these things every time.
No.
And it's awesome.
Mine's been around for a while, so at some point it's probably gonna kick the bucket. But
yeah.
I was gonna mention too, for anyone who's new and looking at gear, one website I really like is Gear Lab for reviews. If it's sleep systems or water filters or anything like that. Have you ever checked out Gear Lab?
They do the reviews, right? Where they
compare all of them.
10 kind of. Yeah, they're pretty good.
That's a good one. And Outdoor Life does a ton of testing on gear.
Yeah.
So they're another good one too to check out. Definitely do your research on stuff, man.
Totally.
Any other review sites that you use, Kelly?
No, I think Gear Lab stands out. That's the one with the little beaker on the label, right? Yeah. It just made me think, like, the one thing that I haven't found the right gear on is sleeping bags. Like, it's not bad. I mean, I had, I'm trying to remember the brand here, if it was Black Diamond or something. But I had a bag that wasn't rated cold enough, or it was, and it wasn't really performing. So I was always cold. So then I bought that Torch sleeping bag, which is great. It's synthetic. And, I'll probably use it for another 5-10 years, right? Like, it does the trick. It's a little warm when it's early season for sure. And I don't like how it's only got like 2 feet of zip on each side. It's kind of like
yeah.
2 zips on each side, and it's tough to get out of.
Yeah, so you gotta piss in the middle of the night, and then you
Yeah,
gotta
you're
try
wrestling
and
with it.
yeah.
But every time I see Garrett show up with that feathers, I can't remember the brand. It's some type of down,
Yeah.
bag, one of the top 2 brands or whatever. I'm like, oh man, I just want to like kick him out of that thing and steal it. Trade you.
Yeah. You know what, man? It's Aaron Snyder. When we talked to him, he's the one that's scared me away from down.
Yeah.
He said it's burned him too many times. You get it wet and it's fucked. So that's kind of
I think if I was going up north on like a sheep hunt or something, I'd take the torch.
Yeah.
But like for some of the stuff we do around here, where if the worst happens, you're not stuck.
Right.
I would love to just, bring a down bag up. I just feel like it would be so comfortable until it's not, and hopefully that's only like 2 to 5% of the time,
Yeah.
if ever.
I think if we were ever going like floorless shelter or something, you wouldn't want to bring the down.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance. Yeah. Okay, we got one more little subheading here. So any gear that seemed like a good idea, and I've got a couple if you want me to start.
Yeah.
And it was like cooking and kitchen type stuff, man. So I remember buying plastic cooking utensils like forks and knives and spoons, thinking, oh, these are light. Like I don't need what are those, like titanium, the ones we have now?
Yeah.
And then they end up fucking melting and breaking, and they're not good. So don't waste your money on plastic utensils or anything like that. And this might make you laugh. This isn't actually the one that I had, but do you remember when I used to bring like the full like cooking set?
Yeah.
So it has like pots and pans.
Yeah.
And I had those coffee cups. You melted one of them. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I put it on the titanium stove, right?
So like, this is great for car camping because it's got everything you need. Yeah. But I used to pack one of these with us on all of our like beginning hunts, and this has got some serious weight to it. And we weren't like cooking breakfast and making pasta and shit. So it's like, oh, I have this and it's cool, but I definitely don't need it. It kind of made me laugh thinking back to having that be like, wow, what if we get something? I want to like cook up some back straps and, So yeah, I think things have definitely changed in that department, but that kind of made me laugh thinking about that.
I got one that aligns with that. And you remember, I'm going to talk about spoons. And we're eating a lot of Mountain House and dehydrated stuff. Remember that spoon I had? It folded in half, and it had the metal. It was kind of like a wire metal handle on the top half, and then it was a titanium spoon on the bottom half, and you could fold it.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Like, first of all, it was way too short.
Right.
It was like, oh, sweet, it's titanium, and it folds down, and like, you could put it anywhere basically. The thing, like, it would never stay connected and extended. It would always like snap halfway. So that was a waste of money for sure. Total gimmick. I ended up getting one of those like fixed long spoons, they're almost like
I think we have
10
the same
inches
one.
long or whatever.
Yeah.
That's essential out there when you're eating out of those, bags, and you don't want to get it all over your hands and everything.
Exactly.
But that spoon was a total mess.
That's hilarious.
It's the little things, when you're going out there for more than a day. Especially when you're going out for more than a few. It's, you don't want to be messing around with it. You want to have a decent chair that you can sit on. You want to have a decent headlamp because, 3 or 4 hours of your day is going to be doing stuff at night, and half of that's getting ready for the next day. So you can't really be efficient without a good headlamp.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to eat your food and do all that kind of stuff. So it kind of comes down to the basics at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure, man. And just to kind of round this out too, I think it's really good to observe what other people are using. Mm-hmm. I kind of mentioned this at the beginning there, and decide if it's something you want. And you just mentioned the Helinox chair. I'm like, fuck, man, that's more shit in my pack. I don't need that. Until you brought yours, and I'm like, oh, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah,
like,
we're all
Yeah. I do not leave without that chair now, man, because
Yeah.
end of a long day, you're just gonna sit in the dirt or sit on a rock or a stump or something, and
Yeah.
fuck that, man. You
Yeah,
need a
I
chair.
don't care if I gotta like tie it to my arm like a splint or whatever. Like however I'm getting that thing in my
Yeah.
bag, it's coming. Because like what are you gonna do when it's 6 p.m. You got your fire going, you want to eat some food and you're gonna sit
Yeah.
on a stump? Like
No, man. That is worth every weight penalty and every penny.
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, man, I think I'm gonna upgrade my chair to the one that Garrett had because it's higher
Okay.
and
Can't
it
remember which one that is. The Big Agnes, maybe?
yeah, maybe. Still lightweight, but
Yeah.
it gets you a little high. It just has more back support. I feel
Yeah.
like when you're sitting in the Helinox that we have, the chair, I think it's a chair one,
Yeah.
you kind of just slouching after a certain
Yeah.
point. Whereas like when whenever I had a chance, I'd always sit in Garrett's chair because it
The
just I don't
the
know,
low
man.
back.
It feels better on your back and you can sit in it
Hmm.
for longer. So I think I actually might upgrade that. But the chair one's been great and
Yeah.
something that I definitely that's just one of those things I learned from, seeing you with one. I'm like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
not gonna
it's worth it.
complain about the weight of this thing because it's worth it. Um
Uh, also, don't leave those things sitting around a campfire because all it takes is one little gust of wind and they
oh
turn
yeah, we
into a
were dealing
kite.
with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Mine
Yeah.
ended up in the fire a couple times.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I saw it right away and yanked it out. No damage done, but it wouldn't take much for that thing to just turn into tent poles.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. One last thing here. So like when to go budget and when to go premium if you're buying
Mm,
gear. So I was gonna say for budget stuff, like your base layers, your t-shirt, your long sleeve, like all that stuff you're wearing under your rain gear or like your good jacket or whatever,
yeah.
doesn't matter. You can get
No.
like for cheap, you can go to Costco. They have merino. It's not the most comfortable, softest stuff, but it's gonna work,
Yeah.
and I feel all, like, those base layers, they end up just stinking and getting trashed and
Yeah,
everything and
exactly.
dirty, and so it doesn't really matter.
You can also get, like Dylan from Eat Wild. He wears those Stanfield wool Highland tuxedos, they call them, or whatever. But those aren't exactly cheap, but they're not bad, and those things are warm. They're wool, so they're going to be warm if you're wet.
Yeah,
Good base layer.
yeah, and then premium, the only thing I would, like, really, in the beginning, harp on for, like, premium stuff is rain gear. Gore-Tex rain gear.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Sitka or First Light or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It can be Arc'teryx or, like, whatever you have, like,
Yeah.
anything that's good.
Outdoor
Gore-Tex.
Research,
Yeah.
North
Yeah,
Face,
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
Helly Hansen.
And side note, like we have the Sitka rain gear, which is Gore-Tex. I don't know if I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on this, but Sitka Gore-Tex, and we also had the First Light rain gear, which is not
Yep.
Gore-Tex. I found the First Light stuff to be really comfortable to wear, very quiet too.
Yeah.
But when it came to like heavy rain and walking through wet brush, ended up being soaked in that stuff. And I took really good care of it. I treated it. I've
Yeah.
only actually worn it a handful of times. And
Yeah.
this was sort of brought to the forefront again when we were on our moose hunt a couple of years back there. And we were out on the quads, just absolutely drenched versus Gore-Tex, which is like,
Yeah.
it's a night and day difference between the two, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And growing up skiing and, doing all that stuff, I'm lean to Gore-Tex first.
Yeah.
But you're right. It is a little bit louder. It's a little crunchier
Yeah.
sounding, but
If it's
I
raining,
don't
it's going
think
to be
you can
loud
beat
out
it.
anyways. So it's like,
Yeah. And I think like every rain gear is going to have a breaking point. So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think if you can help it, you don't necessarily want to be just sitting out in the wide open all day in the rain.
Yeah.
Just make a little shelter or something. But it did seem like the non-Gore-Tex stuff, the breaking point seemed to happen quicker. And that was, across a couple of us in different situations.
Yeah.
So I will always spend the money on the Gore-Tex.
Agreed.
But like you say, you don't have to go, premium anything. I don't know if premium's the right word, but hyped brands or like
Yeah.
like activity specific brands. Like you can go with
Right.
the outdoor researches or like all those brands too.
Yeah.
And you can usually get that stuff wholesale or like, end of season for pretty good prices.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, like by premium, I meant like big spend, like something
Yeah.
you're going to spend some cash on. So
Yeah.
cool. I thought we would end it with something kind of fun. Cal, you got anything in mind for like cheap gear that you love that you never leave behind?
Well, the chair we already talked about.
Yeah, that's not really a cheap one though. I'm talking
Yeah.
like $100 or less. I got a couple.
Well,
Maybe
I
this
love that
will.
spoon, man.
There you go. That's a good one. I'm pretty sure we have the same spoon. It's like a spork. It's a long one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got one of these? It's just the lightweight towel. Quick
Yeah,
dry
I
towel.
got one after I saw you with one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love this thing. I mean, it's a decent size. You can get bigger ones too. But like if you're having a shower, like we
Yeah.
had the water set up and it's just nice and it dries super quick. You just hang it in
Super
the tree
quick,
when
yeah.
you're out. The other one that actually this was just from seeing you guys with them. It's just an inflatable pillow. These are not expensive. They go on sale all the time.
Yeah.
Because I used to just bring a stuff sack and jam a jacket and shit in there and use that for a pillow. That was kind of dumb.
What? So just a note on the pillow, because I agree, but I have a inflatable pillow that doesn't really have like that velvety kind of finish on the one side or both sides, which adds like a bit of stickiness, especially if you got a slippery sleeping bag.
Yeah.
So mine is a bit smooth, and what I find is like through the night, it kind of just pinches between your head and the sleeping bag, and it just slips out and ends up somewhere else, which drives me nuts. So I'm gonna have to buy a different one, and something like yours where it has a little bit more grip.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just the mech one, and it wasn't very expensive. And I put it in the mummy bag so that it can't slide.
Yeah.
Sometimes I put it underneath it, but it's just nice because it won't, like, it's in the hood part, right? So
Yeah.
even if your head's not inside the hood, it's not going to move out of there. And then I got one more. These come in handy. So I love having just a tent footprint for like organizing my gear. So like if we're packing up camp, I throw this thing out, I lay out all and like fold everything up and keep everything like clean and dry. And then we also throw this in the vestibule in the tent so that it's not just dirt out there. We can put all of our packs and boots and everything on there. And these are always like at the end of the season, they always go on sale because not everybody who buys a tent buys the footprint. So they always usually have like lots of these left over and they go on sale and they're like $20 or whatever. They're cheap. So there you go. All those items are like less than $50 each or something.
Right. Yeah. You reminded me of another one. They're not exactly the cheapest. It's similar to the tent floor, but sill tarp.
Yeah. Same
like
idea.
Having like some form of a sill tarp is handy. And what I do is like pre-tie all the parachute cord to all the corners. So, give like yourself 6-10 feet or whatever of cord and just kind of like pre-tie them on there. And,
nice.
You can always whip together a shelter pretty quick with like one trekking pole or something. That's the other reason I like to bring trekking poles is, if you've got even one of them, you can make a pretty good shelter and huddle under there. But yeah, some type of tarp or floor is super handy.
For sure. Sweet. Well, that's all I got.
Awesome, man. The only other thing I would mention, like we're talking about hype, we're talking about spending money. Like there's a lot of good rifles that are made nowadays with decent barrels that shoot, especially if you're only hunting to, 1, 2, 300 yards max. You don't have to go out there and drop like $3,000 on a rifle.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out there and drop $3,000 on a scope. I mean, that's some serious cash.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good value rifles out there, and I've talked about the Tikka quite a bit, but yeah, highly recommend something like that. But there's even like cheaper models, cheaper brands out there, and they shoot fine too. So, there's a lot of talk about, I think, rifles and shooting out there, but not sound like our grandparents. For up in BC here, where you're not shooting, long, flat kind of prairies and stuff, a good old 30-06 short barrel, keep it somewhat light. Don't spend a ton of money. You can always switch out the stock later on, like I did with mine. if you want to invest a little bit more, as Tikka's
Yeah,
good because
that's
they've
the
got a
fun
good
thing. You
barrel.
can kind of start at the base model and customize it how you like it over time.
Totally, especially if you have a shooter, right? Like mine shoots pretty good, and I don't mind tossing a little bit of upgrades at it.
Yeah.
I mean, the alternative is you're going to go spend a pocket load of money on a whole new setup, right? And then it's kind of like, it's fun to have a whole bunch of calibers and to like kind of collect these things. And I kind of do the same thing with guitars, right?
Yeah.
And if you have the means, then, awesome.
Yeah.
But if you're planning to just get into it and, and not drop a whole bunch of money on hunting, like really you can get by with a 30-06 or, 270 or something and pretty much take down anything in the province like BC. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Something else where you don't have to break the bank, I don't think.
Yeah. And we should probably do an episode on that too.
Totally.
Well, good, man. I think we covered lots here. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, I think the next one we're doing is butchering and processing your own meat. So you can look forward to that one. If anybody has any feedback or anything, info at the Rookie Hunter, you know where to find us. Instagram. Does any of us go on there anymore?
We need to pick it up for sure.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, man.
Okay. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Okay, don't go anywhere yet. I promised you I would play a hunting story. And this one is about a blacktail hunt, and it came from Darren. So enjoy.
They say you'll always remember your first. After bouncing from Ontario to Vancouver, back to Ontario, and finally landing on the island, I was hell-bent on not letting another season slip by without putting a tag on a blacktail buck in BC. This time, it had to happen. October 6th rolled around, and I lifted the garage door, fired up the quad, and headed for the hunting grounds. Truth be told, I was a bit lazy that morning. Didn't get up the mountain until around 10 a.m. or so. I figured I'd start hiking and poking around some areas where I had cameras set up, eventually making my way up to my favorite right glassing point. But it was one of those days, slow as molasses. No action, not much new sign on the way in, and the day felt like it was destined to be another dud again. With about an hour of legal shooting light left, I decided to pack it in, hopped on the quad, and started idling out of the area, pretty much on autopilot. Just before starting my descent, something caught my eye, a flash of movement in the tall grass about 80 yards off the trail. There he was, standing there with 2 does, not a care in the world. I stopped the quad, and all 3 of them stared right at me. I froze. After what felt like an eternity, they relaxed a bit. They didn't seem too bothered by the ATV, so I left it running, slid off the side, and got down on my stomach on the trail. This was by no means an impressive deer, but at this point, I may as well have been stalking a world record buck. I crawled into the tall grass, face down, inching my way closer until I was less than 20 yards from them. It was now or never. The light was fading fast. The does spooked and hopped down into a hole, but the buck just stood there, frozen. He gave me just enough time to get him in the scope, and I took in the moment. This was it. All that was left was to squeeze that 270 and let her fly. Looking at a deer that close, through a scope, felt both ludicrous and surreal. I punched him so hard from so close that it literally blew him off his feet. He dropped on the spot. I ran up, hootin' and hollerin' like a fool, loud enough that they probably heard me on the mainland. I grabbed him by the antlers, dragged him back to the ATV, and after a bit of a struggle, managed to heft him onto the back rack. A few deep grunts later, and he was strapped in, on his way to hang in the same garage I'd left earlier that day. The irony of spending so many days in the field, hiking, glassing, setting up cameras, only to get the opportunity when I decided to call it quits and ride the ATV home, is something that still crosses my mind all the time. I never throw stones at road hunters anymore. After all, I was one that day, and had put my first island blacktail in the freezer.
There you go, episode 173. Thanks, Darren, for that hunting story. We will be back next week with another episode, so stay tuned. I will do my very, very best to keep a regular schedule going here. We're having some fun with these topics. And again, if you want to suggest one, send them in to info@therookihunter.com, and we will try and tackle one for you. Shout out to our sponsors, the Wild Sheep Foundation. Become a member, wildsheepfoundation.org. Zoleo, get yourself a satellite communicator. I had mine with me last weekend for an epic hike. Zoleo.com, Zoleo.com. And North Arm Knives, go to northarmknives.com. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.